Welcome to this video, second video on nutrients in the body. So this is the second part of your second assignment. Okay, so we're going to look at the macronutrients and micronutrients. So there's your two objectives. Now I understand that we've done macronutrients before and it is in one of your previous assignments. Okay, but we'll just go over it again as a quick refresh to make sure that you fully understand what's going on. Any questions, bring them to the first lesson back after half term, and make sure you make some notes on this, please. So, the difference between the two then. So your macronutrients are the nutrients that you need in large amounts, okay? And they provide us with calories and energy or energy. So they're your fats, your proteins and your carbohydrates. Your micronutrients are kind of vitamins and minerals, and we need these in very small amounts that are essential to health, development and growth. Now we've got essential and non-essential parts of micronutrients, but I'm going to go into them when we get to micronutrients after. We'll just cover macronutrients quickly. So this table depicts everything that you kind of need to know and what you need to expand upon within your assignment. Now I understand that you do have this in the previous assignment, so you can copy and paste that across, but just make sure that you cover all the points that are on this table. So the macronutrient, we'll start with protein. There's 20 different amino acids. We've got 9 essential, essential meaning that the body cannot produce them and we must eat them within our diet, and 11 non-essential, which means we have to eat a small amount, but for the most part the body can manufacture them themselves. We need proteins for building and repairing muscle tissue, for help us break down foods because enzymes are proteins, help aid homeostasis because hormones are proteins and they tell the body kind of what to do in different areas, and also to help the immune system. In terms of our daily amount, we need about 10 to 35% of our daily overall calorie intake from protein. Now, percentage isn't a fantastic way to go about talking about someone's daily amount. Grams per kilogram of body weight is a better way to do it for athletes and things like that, because it's a bit more specific, a bit more scientific. However, it'll do for us today. So an example food for protein, we've got meat, eggs and milk. Okay, so lots of dairy products have it. The next macronutrient, fats. So we know we've got two different types of fat, saturated and unsaturated. Saturated being your bad fat and unsaturated being our good fats. So the main function of fat is to protect by insulation and also for cushioning of body organs. So insulation helps us maintain our temperature balance. It helps us out when we're cold. Okay, and obviously when we're running around and things and walking, fat helps to cushion body organs so they're not banging off each other and off the bones, and keeps them protected that way. Fat also promotes growth and development and helps digest A, D, E and K vitamins, which are known as fat soluble, so they actually only digest when fat is available. So there's quite a bit of kind of negative press on fats, but in the actual truth is we actually do need a small amount of fats, but as long as they're unsaturated, they are the good fats. Okay. So the amount required, 20% of our daily intake of calories should come from fat, and for the most part we should avoid saturated fats. And saturated fats themselves should only take up about 20 grams, or we should only take in 20 grams of saturated fat a day, and the fats, if any. Example foods for good fats, okay, nuts, avocados, olive oil, okay, contain high amounts of unsaturated fats, whereas sweets and chocolate and cakes and donuts and all that stuff, they contain high amounts of saturated fat. Okay, so stay away from your sweets and chocolate and eat lots of nuts, avocados and olive oil. So finally, carbohydrate, kind of the main macronutrient we talk about, purely because it's the main energy source for the body. Okay, and that in particular being glucose. And the reason it is because the brain, the heart and your central nervous system all prefer to use glucose as an energy source over fats and protein. Now obviously we've talked about kind of macronutrients and energy systems quite a lot over previous lessons. The carbohydrates, we only get about 3.75 kilocalories per gram that we eat. However, it's extremely fast to break down in the body. We obviously get more energy from fats, but they are slow to break down. Okay, so carbohydrates always come out the winner because of the speed we can break them down, the amount we can store in the muscles and the liver through glycogen. Okay, fats are just a little bit harder for the body to use. Although we do get more energy, so there's lots of contrasting evidence on the best type of diet, high fat diet versus a high carbohydrate diet, and how that kind of physiologically affects the body. But that's for another video. Okay. So the amount required for your daily intake of carbohydrate is between 45 and 65% of your daily intake of calories, and we can get lots of carbohydrates from fruits, vegetables. That was well spelled, wasn't it? Vegetables, beans and nuts, whole grains, and high fiber foods are good because they help to move the food through digestion. We can't break down fiber, so that helps push the food through the system. So it aids in digestion. I'll have to change that spelling mistake in a second. Okay, so moving on to vitamins and minerals then. So the first thing we should do really is define the difference between a vitamin and a mineral. Vitamins are basically organic compounds, whereas minerals are inorganic. Okay, and they both help for normal growth and nutrition, and they're both required in small amounts. Okay, vitamins can be broken down, changing their chemical composition, whereas minerals can't be. Okay, which is basically the difference between organic and inorganic components. So that's the difference between them. And again, like we were talking about with amino acids and proteins, we do have essential vitamins and minerals and non-essential vitamins and minerals. Okay, so another quick definition for you there, just wrote down so you can get it in your notes, is essential, the body cannot produce them, and they must be eaten in the diet. Non-essential, the body can produce them, and therefore we don't have to eat them in large quantities in the diet. And I mean, when I say large quantities, I mean large quantities for vitamins and minerals, not for macronutrients, because we don't need anywhere near as much vitamins and minerals as we do macronutrients. Okay, so what I want to do next is go through kind of the main vitamins and minerals that I want you to talk about in your assignment. Now, I know there's a lot more than this to go about and read, but these are the ones I want us to focus on. Okay, so vitamin A is required for maintaining vision, healthy skin, and it aids in the growth process. Okay, we have the recommendations there per day for men and women, and the sources: green, yellow vegetables, spell vegetables right that time, and dairy products such as milk and yogurt. Okay, vitamin B required for the release of energy from foods and healthy skin. The vitamin B I've talked about here is the complex vitamin B. Okay, so not the different separate types. So the complex is thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin together. 425 milligrams per day, found in bread, milk, and eggs. Vitamin B12 helps maintain and manufacture new red blood cells. Obviously, it contains our hemoglobin, which carries oxygen, carbon dioxide around the body, okay, and helps us out having a great deal. We need to eat 2.4 milligrams per day of vitamin B12, and we can find that in meat, milk, and fish. Vitamin C, the scurvy vitamin, okay, helps maintain skin, protects cells from disease, and it helps the body absorb iron. Okay, iron is a really important mineral for us, and we're going to go through that in the slide in a second. Again, the men and women daily intakes. Okay, now I'll tell you in a second actually. So we can find them in fruit and vegetables. Vitamin D helps absorb calcium, builds strong teeth and bones. Again, 100 milligrams per day, upper limit. Now that's probably the better time to come in and say what I was about to say a second ago. These requirements are only general figures. They are not exact for every single person. They are not exact for every for male and female. And we do have what's called an upper limit, which I put in brackets on vitamin D. We have a safe limit of all vitamins and minerals. So there's recommendations for the upper limit in which we can take up to that amount per day before we have any kind of overdose effects, if there are any for certain vitamins and minerals. Okay, so some of these are exact figures for the day, and some of them, like vitamin D, are kind of the upper limits for the day in which you shouldn't take any more than that. Okay, so please use these requirements as guidelines only, not as exact figures. So trying to get confused with that, because obviously if you read lots of different articles and journals and books and things, you will see different numbers. Okay, so please be aware of that when doing the research for your next assignment. And finally, the sources of vitamin D are margarine and oily fish. Okay, so in your assignment, expect to see these vitamins, their functions, the requirements, and some foods that they are contained within. Okay, so moving on to minerals then. Again, I know there's a lot more minerals than this, but please, bear with me. These are the ones I want to see in your assignment. Try and do you a little bit of a favour here. Oh my God, my spelling's terrible today. I'll say so. Caclium, which is meant to say calcium, alright, is needed for growth of healthy teeth and bones, and it also provides a role in the contraction of skeletal muscle. So think back to its job in this sliding filament theory, which we've already done a million times. Okay, again, please remember what I said about requirements a second ago. So 2,500 milligrams per day, and we can find it in milk, cheese, eggs, whole grain cereals, green vegetables, and bread. Iron provides a role in the formation of new red blood cells. 45 milligrams per day, found within red meat, green vegetables, eggs, lentils, and bread. Potassium, crucial to the heart function and plays a role in skeletal and smooth muscle contraction. We need 4,700 milligrams per day, found in all them foods noted there. Sodium, if you think back to the sodium-potassium pump, these two work together to play a role in body functions and generating action potentials and things like that. But sodium also helps regulate the amount of water in the body, so it's got an important job there. 1,500 milligrams per day needed, and again we can find it in things like jalapeno peppers, tomato sauce, zucchini, sweet corn, and onions. Magnesium. Now, this is a quite funny one actually. It's quite important. It's needed for over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, so it's needed in a lot of chemical reactions. Okay, it's probably something that in your lesson that we don't talk about enough. Okay, but it's got lots and lots and lots of functions. So it helps normal nerve function, normal muscle function. It supports your immune system. It maintains a steady heartbeat. It helps strengthen bones along with calcium, and it helps regulate glucose levels. So of all kind of minerals, this is one of the most important for the normal function homeostasis of the human body. Finally then, 350 milligrams per day, and it's contained within there. Even chocolate, but please don't start eating loads and loads of chocolate because the negative effects of chocolate outweigh the positives of eating magnesium. Finally, zinc plays a role in cell division, cell growth, wound healing, and breaks down carbohydrates or aids in the breakdown of carbohydrates. 11 milligrams for men and 8 milligrams per day for women. And again, found in red meat, poultry, seafood. Wow, my spelling is awful. Nutters, we're supposed to say nuts. Dry beans, milk, dairy products, and whole grains. I'm going to change this. Okay, change my spelling. Calcium spelled right. I realised seafood was spelled wrong as well, and nuts. Should really check my PowerPoint before I start doing the video, but hey, there we go. Okay, so that is that. Oh, every time I restart this, my PowerPoint stops working. Okay, so that's that. That's the vitamins and minerals that you're going to need for your assignment, and a quick review of macronutrients. Okay, again, if you've got any questions, please bring them to the next lesson. And that's that. Thanks for watching.